So why do you think Ripple has done better than its rivals?
Well, Ripple, the company, I think you're asking about XRP, the digital asset. I think any digital asset in a long term is going to be valued based upon the problems it's really solving. Is it solving a real problem at scale? And I think people increasingly have seen that XRP is solving real problems, both how Ripple is using it to solve a cross-border payments problem, selling those technologies to banks, financial institutions. And I think this is a nascent market. There's a lot of speculation. There's frankly a lot of hype. And I think as we separate that hype from reality, you're going to see diversion happen. And so I think one of the reasons why XRP has outperformed is because you're seeing there's a real use case. It's solving a real problem.
So in terms of key milestone in the next 12 months, what would that be that would drive the value of XRP?
Well, so I think a couple of things. One is you're seeing more and more companies entering the XRP ecosystem. There's a very cool micropayments company that launched in 2018 called Coil. And looking at how do you leverage XRP payments to enable, a penny payment, a 2-penny payment. If I want to read a website and I don't want to pay $10 a month for whatever newspaper, I can actually read an article for a couple cents and that can be dribbled out. That's an example of how other people are taking advantage of XRP as an extremely fast and extremely low-cost way to move value around. It's 1,000 times faster than Bitcoin and 1,000 times cheaper than Bitcoin to enable those transactions. You're seeing the market, I think, react to that. Ripple is using that same technology at scale with financial institutions and banks. It's been unequivocally a record year for us. We have been signing over 2 production contracts a week with banks ranging from the largest bank in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, one of the largest banks in the United States we announced a few weeks ago. So that momentum, because we're solving that real problem, I think has driven excitement and enthusiasm.
You talk about banks. I mean, they are your key clients. You work with a lot of banks, yet when it comes to adoption, institutional adoption, when can we see that happen? When will they get into the crypto space? And what's hindering that? It's regulation.
Yes, well, it's a great question. And I think one of the reasons why we're seeing so much interest in what's going on here in Singapore, and one of the reasons I'm here, is because you've seen regulators provide clarity about how they're going to approach crypto, how they're going to approach blockchain. And allowed us companies like Ripple and other companies in the space to invest with certainty, with clarity. And so I think you're seeing more and more institutional interest in the crypto space. Even recently, the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, ICE, announced their crypto exchange that they plan to launch in December called Backed. When I was here in Singapore a year ago at this same event, there were 30,000 people here. And this year there's 40,000 people. And it's part of that regulatory certainty. It's seeing the institutional interest from players like the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange. You've seen Fidelity in the United States make announcements about their interest. And even with it, Ripple, last quarter we announced there was more institutional interest in it, people coming to us to buy XRP, that institutional buyer, than we'd ever had before in our history. And I think you're going to continue to see that grow. It'll be frankly exciting to come back next year and see how far we've come between now and a year from now.
How soon do you think, though?
Well,
because
honestly,
regulators are different, all kinds of perspective.
That is part of the challenge, right? You need a global framework, and you're seeing some countries really lean in and be progressive and provide that clarity. Here in Singapore, the MAS has been truly a leader. That's also true in Thailand, and even to some degree the Philippines and Japan. Other markets have been slower. Even in the United States, there's some lack of clarity, particularly around the SEC and some things they've announced around ICOs. But there's still work to be done on that. And I think until that clarity is there, it's hard for companies to invest in a big way. Now, to your point, I would have predicted 2018 was really the year of institutional adoption of crypto. Here we are in Q4, and I would say it has underachieved what I would have guessed would achieve this year, largely, I think, because of some of the regulatory uncertainty, and also in terms of custody solutions and really the ability from a security point of view support institutional adoption and usage of these crypto assets.
I'd like you to address some of the rumors circling around. There are indications that perhaps your biggest rival, Swift, will be joining you. Could you shed some light?
Well, look, Swift is owned by the banks, and we are here to help the banks. We feel like blockchain technologies are a massive step function forward in terms of how correspondent banking has historically worked. The technologies that banks use today that Swift developed decades ago really hasn't evolved and kind of kept up with the market. And so we feel like we're here to help the banks. Swift is owned by the banks. There have been opportunities where maybe there's partnership opportunities. We haven't been able to bring those to fruition. But we're going to keep focusing on solving the customer problem. Swift said not that long ago they didn't see blockchain as a solution to correspondent banking. We've got well over 100 of their customers saying that they disagree.
So strictly internet rumors, yes? Just to
Strictly
clarify.
rumors. Look, there's lots of rumors, and I'm hesitant to comment on any rumor, because if you comment on the false rumors, then you have to comment on the true rumors, and so you just avoid all of them.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over Swift one day?
Well, I think what we're doing and executing on a day-by-day basis is, in fact, taking over Swift, in that we've now signed up well over 100 banks. Some of the largest Swift-enabled banks in the world are now using Ripple's technology. Just last week, we saw a remittance company who's using Ripple's technology. They reduced the price per transaction to their consumers from $20 per transaction to $2 per transaction, and they saw an 800% increase in usage overnight. That's the type of dynamic that Swift isn't able to support that we're able to address right now. And that's something we saw just in the last couple of weeks. So we certainly want to see banks succeed in this new world order and take advantage of these technologies. To the extent we can work with Swift to do that, then that's great.